The link on D2L will bring you to the GitHub webpage for this course, HTC MMVP 2010, Spring 2017. So when we are on this, you will see that there's a couple of different repositories listed here. Mad Libs is going to be your first major project that we will start on later in the session. Hello World we will be working with momentarily. I'm just going to click over to Welcome. So when we go to Welcome, there's a few things on Welcome that are worth looking at. One, you will notice is that there's the Git cheat sheet education PDF. If I look at this document, you will see that it has a number of the Git commands that we are going to be using as we work with Git over the course of the semester. So if you are struggling to remember all of your commands, you will see that this is going to be the bulk of commands that you would possibly use this term. Now, also under Welcome is a folder called Core Concepts. Inside of that are 30 separate HTML files that each one has a little bit of JavaScript. And you can tell by the file name that the JavaScript is doing something and get some idea of what that JavaScript is about. Next class, we are going to go through those documents, because after we have gone through and talked through these 30 documents, completing the project will be easy, or at least easier. So this Welcome folder, if I want to copy it to my own computer so that I can work with it, because right now it is on GitHub, what I can do is I see where I have a clone or download option. So I can download it as a zip file and just throw it on my hard drive and keep it. But because we are viewing this as the projects you're working with, you could also clone it. But if I just wanted to download it so I had the files, I would hit download, and it now downloads that zip. If I open up that zip, we will see that inside I have the core concept files. I have the Git cheat sheet for education. So we have the files that we need to make this work. It's all relatively handy. So you can just download the zip. You can also clone it. We'll see that there's the URL. If you click the clipboard icon, it copies that. And inside of terminal, if I type pwd print working directory, it tells me I'm on my administrator account. If I want to find out what folders are available, I type in ls, and I will see then I can access the desktop. So I will type in cd, change directory, desktop. Once I start typing it, if I hit tab, if there's no other confusing characters, it will know that I want to autocomplete with desktop. So now I see my path as desktop on the administrator, and I want to clone that there, so I can choose git clone, paste what I copied off of GitHub, and when I do that, I have to do one thing. I get rid of this zip. Otherwise it would be confused because there's already a folder there. Now I can see that it cloned those files. And now if I look at the desktop, there is that welcome folder. There are the files. So cloning versus downloading a zip and dealing with all of that, using terminal to clone off of GitHub should become something that you start doing on a regular basis. More and more helper files, framework files, starter files, and other things you're going to find as you work on your web development are all going to be coming from GitHub. That is the repository for about 80% of those kinds of items right now. So getting comfortable using GitHub is something that you will want to do. So that gives you access to the welcome files. Now we are going to switch gears a little bit to actually try and do Git for real. So if you go to the course page and then go to the Hello World repository, we have some instructions here. You're going to fork the repository, and then you will clone that to your computer, and you're going to modify the index file and commit those changes, and then you're going to push the changes up to GitHub, and then you will create a pull request. Now you will notice that some of this text is in blue. If I click on that, I'll see that it opens up and gives me a page that talks about forking a project. So I can get more information about what a fork is. If I click on clone, it gives me more information about cloning a project. If I click on commit, I get more information about doing a commit. So we're going to go through this process, and I have 21 more minutes to complete it. And we will complete an entire project workflow. So the first step is to fork the repository. So if I wish to fork the repository, I click on the fork icon. And now I have forked it to my own personal account. So we'll see I'm no longer on the course web page, but instead I was on my personal web page. So the course web page is here. You click on the fork icon, top right. And now if I go into that forked project, and it tells me I'm on the ArtBoy Hello World forked from, I can see where it was forked from. Now, this is where the fun begins. Now we need to clone this to our desktop. Before that, we should just verify one more time who the computer thinks we are in respect to Git. So inside terminal, we want to say git config -- global user.name, and now you will type in your name. And then git config -- global user.email, and type in your email. After you have done that, you know the browser is, or Git is configured properly on your computer. If you get in the habit of doing this every time you sit down to work, you'll be in good shape. If you're on your own laptop, once you do it once, you're done, unless you want to change and become someone else. Now that we know that Git and terminal are configured, I have forked my repository. I click the clone or download button, and I am going to then click the copy to clipboard option, which will copy this path. So that is the path to my cloned repository. One key word of warning: when you are trying to clone something, so you've forked it, make sure then the item that you then clone to your desktop is yours. So in this case, I'm doing the ArtBoy Hello World, not the course. So make sure across the top, when you go to choose clone, that you're not trying to clone the class folder. Because if you clone the class folder, it won't allow you to make a commit. You can clone it, you can read it, you can do whatever you want, But if you say, oh, I add these files, now I commit the changes, it'll be like, no. Okay, well, fine, we'll let you commit, but then you'll say, okay, I'll push you up to GitHub. But no, you don't have permission because you're not one of the contributors to the project. I own the project. So you created a fork which made your own version. But when you clone, make sure you clone the fork, not the original. So right now, this is the original. If I try to clone this, well, actually, it'll work for me because I own both. But it won't work for you. And I ran into this the last time we did this, where students would fork it, but then they would clone the class project, not cloning their fork of the project. So then they wouldn't allow them to push up their changes. So always make sure before you download a forked project that you're in your folder, not the class website. Now I will copy the path. So your path will be different. Mine reflects my fork. And then I will go over to terminal. And I will want to pay attention to where I'm putting this. I'm currently going to just put it on the desktop. But if I wanted to put this directory onto my flash drive, I would need to navigate to that using cd ///. Probably one more. Let's see where I'm at now. So if I print my working directory, I'm at users. So cd .. one more. And now if I say, let's list there. Now I can see I am now at the root level of the hard drive, or of the operating system. And I can now cd to volumes. And on volumes, I will see then currently I have the instructor. If I had a flash drive or hard drive plugged in, it's under my list of volumes on the computer. So that's how I would navigate to that particular item. I'm going to go back to the root user folder, cd tilde, and then I will go to the desktop. And I will see the different files that are there. And I am going to now clone the project to the desktop using git clone and then paste what I copied from GitHub. So yours should say github.com/your git username /helloworld.git. And when you do that, it copies the files to your computer. You have cloned the fork of your folder. I want you to add a line of text to it. So in Atom, you can drag the folder. You can right-click on the file. You have a lot of options. And I can see there is the line of text that is in this Hello World file. And it is true. I want you to add a new line of text to the file. And then you are going to save your document. And then you are going to add that change to Git. You are going to commit that change. And then we are going to have you push that to your folder. So add a new paragraph. Tell me who you are. You must have your name in that paragraph of text so I know who contributed it. Easy. And I want you to then add it to your project, to the project. So I made a change. Now if I go to terminal, I need to go into that folder, into Hello World. If I type in git status, I will see that it's providing me information. And it tells me I have changes not staged for commit. After you have created the change or changes to your documents. You've added documents, removed documents, whatever you're trying to do to a given repository or folder. I mean, because the repository is just really, it's a folder with files in it. Now I typed in git status to find out what was going on with my project, and it told me that the file that I'm working on has been modified. And it now tells me no changes to commit. It says use git add to add that file. Now it is possible in Git, as you get more advanced, you can start combining commands together. So I can do the git commit -a, which is the same as doing git add followed by git commit. So it is possible, but in the beginning I would encourage you to keep all of your commands as single commands while you're learning the workflow of the commands. It will make things, I think, a little bit easier that way. So if I type git add, if I'm only adding one file, I could type in the file name. And get smart enough, if I type the first letter and hit the tab key, it will add that name to my listing here. I also have the option of saying I just want to add everything. So when I added the welcome folder, which had 40 documents in it, I didn't type them in one at a time or as a comma list or anything, but I then cheated and I just typed in star, which is wildcard, which is everything. If I don't like that because that scares you, you can type in -- all. That works as well. But that's 5 things to type versus 1. I like 1. I'm lazy when it comes to typing in commands. My git commit messages are usually very terse and short, often not as usable as they should be because I want to be done typing. So git add star, that adds the file. Now if I choose or type in git status, I will see it says I have modified index, but it's now green instead of red because it says changes to be committed. Previously it said changes not staged for commit. Now it's telling me changes to be committed, telling me, hey, we're ready to do something here. I will finish up this process by saying git commit -m. That's for the message I'm going to type. So I'm saying I'm committing with a message, and my message will be modified index file. You can put whatever message you want. If your message is explanatory and useful, then when you look through commit changes later on, that may help you find something you're looking for in the versions of your project. If all you do is say update files as a commit message, that's pretty worthless. Specify if you've changed typos. If you removed a bug, say what the bug was. If you added in new functionality, list that. If you added in new content, you could briefly, just in a few words, say what that content was, just so you can differentiate it from a later commit where you say add content. Now I hit return. It gives me a message. It tells me 1 file change, 2 insertions, 2 deletions. We're good. And now I type git push origin master. So I'm telling Git to push this file to my online GitHub account onto the master branch. Now it will prompt me for my Git username, and it will prompt me for my Git password. Trying again with the correct password. put in the correct password, and we can see now it updates and pushes the files onto GitHub. If I switch back to the project, and previously I was here, now I will see that it has updated it, where I added the word very to my text, so now it's been updated.
I see mine change.
We will now create a pull request. The pull request is where we click on where it says pull request. We are going to click on the pull request tab. And when it comes up, it says welcome to pull request. To get started, you should create a pull request. So I will say new pull request. And now it says choose 2 branches to see what's changed, or start a new pull request. If you need to compare across forks, it says able to merge. These branches can be automatically merged, which is going to be nice. So what I will do is then create pull request. Now yours won't auto merge in because you're not since I'm the creator of the shared repository, and now I just made one from my other account, but it's still me, it's allowing me to merge this in. When you do it, it will just say it's now awaiting approval. So I'm going to say create pull request. I can put in a comment if I want. It's using, you'll notice it says modified index file. That was my commit message. So that's a useful thing. But I could now change the text and say, hey, I really wish you would fix this, because it should have been that way in the first place. Or you can do whatever you want. And then I'll choose create pull request. Now, because I'm the owner of the project, I have an option of accepting this pull request, or I can squash it. So I can just merge it, and then it will make that update to the project. But I don't have to. I can even then provide commentary on your pull request when you choose to make one. So I'll confirm the merge, and now the project has been merged. Now when you go and select yours, it's not going to give you quite the same feedback because you are a different GitHub user. But once you go through this, we will now be adding your pull request to the project and then evaluate them appropriately. If I now go to the class project, so I'm not in my folder, I'm in the class folder, Hello World, and go to pull request, I will see each of your pull requests waiting there for me to provide feedback on. So if I click on one of them, so now I can see the one from Darla. It shows me I have conflicts that must be resolved. So it's now asking me to look for those conflicts. Like, nah, I don't feel like doing that just yet. But if I go back and say look at this one, I will see that this branch has no conflicts. So I could now merge this in. Now the interesting thing that will happen is if I choose to merge this in, that's going to then mean when it tries to merge any of the other ones, I may run into other conflicts. So this becomes, if we're trying to all work on the same project like this, one, it's preventing any overwriting from happening. But if it's one person having to take content from multiple people, it sometimes can have issues. Now, if I said one of you upload your file, do a merge request, and I do it, then the next person clone down, or at least update your local cloned copy with the master, so it could pull down what is the course project file in its most current incarnation, then that would cut down some of this trouble. But for the meantime, I can merge that in, confirm that merge. Go back into the pull request. I can go into another one. Now I can see there has to be conflicts now because I added it. So if I go to resolve conflicts, I will see that now there's options and I can decide how I want to make changes. So I could go and delete some lines. Rid of that. It's telling me I could say, yeah, that's good. Commit those changes. All right. And now that it's done, I can confirm that merge. If I wanted to, I could reject it. I could provide a comment, so you could go read in the pull request why I don't want to accept your comment. That we just went through forking a repository, cloning your fork of the repository to your computer, modify your files, commit your changes, push them up to GitHub, and then create a pull request is how you will be submitting projects this semester. We will be using GitHub for project collection. We will not be using D2L as our way of bringing in our projects.